Good morning, and welcome to our series, Interviews with Disciples and Devotees. In our previous meeting with Partho, you've heard about education. And today I want to go a little deeper with him to talk about Oro University and also his experiential work in education. Welcome, Partho. Namaste.
Thank you.
How did you first get in touch with Oro University? And tell everyone what it is to you.
How did I get in touch? I think it was H.P. Rama who came to know of me through two other people we know, Amita and Taradidi. And
Amita
from
the
the
Gnostic Center?
Amita of Gnostic Center, and I'm working very closely with the Gnostic Center. With Amita.
Could you
one
talk
of the
a little
founder
bit
members.
about that?
Yeah, I'm one of the founder members of the Gnostic Center. The Gnostic Center is, to my mind, really the next step in learning and growing. It's a very concentrated work in Mother and Sri Aurobindo's educational thinking, and very consciously, slowly and very consciously moving towards future of learning. And one of the aspirations in the Gnostic Center for all of us who are working towards that is to create what Amita calls a prototype of the future, a prototype of future education. So what kind of courses would we need for future children? Or what kind of learning pedagogies do we need to evolve for future education, higher education? So that's the kind of work that we're doing in the Gnostic Center.
Is there a correlation with the free progress system of the ashram?
Yes, true. There's a school there's a primary school, a pre-primary school in the Gnostic Center. We call it La Benir, which is a free progress school. And doing, I think, amazing work with the children. It's only pre-primary, so somehow the Gnostic Center has kept it to just pre-primary, and then the next link is straight to higher education.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's very interesting work that's happening, and it was Amita who first told me that I think there's a huge possibility here, the Oro University, and I think you should check that out and see what you can do. And that's how I got involved with Oro University. So as I said in the last interaction, that it's the first university in the world which has been set up with a very conscious aspiration for realizing Sri Aurobindo and Mother's work in education. This is higher education. There's no institute that I know of that's
in the world.
In the world that I know of, which is doing this kind of work, yes, or is providing, I shouldn't say doing this kind of work, let me correct myself, which is providing the platform for this kind of work.
Yes.
It will take a while for this kind of work to actually start happening, because too many things involved here, too many moving parts. But at least we have a platform for the future, for the years to come. Here's a platform where we can actually evolve and practice an integral education in higher education, an integral approach to higher education, in higher education. We can actually explore possibilities of integralizing the content and the approach of mainstream subjects like management, leadership, business studies, law, sociology, economics, psychology, and bring all these mainstream domains of knowledge towards the integral vision, integral approach, integral work, open it more to Aurobindian thought, the Aurobindian worldview, without perhaps even labeling it as Sri Aurobindo. And making it truly effective in studying and understanding today's world, because I'm sure you would too. You too would agree, because I feel very strongly that Sri Aurobindo's approach, Sri Aurobindo's thought, is a deeply effective way of not only understanding today's world, today's reality, but creating tomorrow's world, creating tomorrow's reality out of what exists today. It's a body of work, a body of thought that gives us a wonderful continuity between the past of not just India, but I think the human past with the human future, which does not in any way dismiss the present, but understands the present in a wider light, and almost hews the way to the future out of the present. And that's something that needs serious study. I think not many more educationists, thinkers, leaders, various fields of life need to pay close attention to what Sri Aurobindo is saying.
Yes.
What we need to pay very close attention to the future that Sri Aurobindo is talking about and indicating for us, without getting caught up in the religiosity of it all, because that's one ever-present danger, especially in today's world, that Sri Aurobindo's work should not get confused with religion, with any kind of religiosity or
Yes.
cultish approach or New Ageist approach, even New Ageist approach to
Agreed.
things.
Agreed.
So it has to be kept above all this, where it truly belongs, and it has to be made into an effective tool of seeing, of understanding, of correlating, and of creating the next possibility.
Without proselytizing.
Yes, without proselytizing.
Yes. Yes.
And without trying to indoctrinate, yes.
Yeah.
Without proselytizing, without indoctrination, letting it evolve as it must.
You mentioned
For that, a
yes.
serious approach to a very serious approach in education is needed for that.
You mentioned this new center at Oro. Could you talk about
Yes,
that?
so Oro University, as I just said, is a platform that makes all this possible. So obviously, it will need a few things in place first. It will first need to articulate its aspirations very effectively and very practically, in a very pragmatic way. It has to articulate its highest aspirations in terms of what can be done, what should be done, and how it should be taken to its conclusion, using existing domains of knowledge, using existing disciplines, using this entire field of higher education to see how we can take higher education to the next level. Now, to do this, we first need, at Oro University, we first need to touch excellence in what is being done presently. So if you're not at least as good as the Ivy League universities, no one's going to listen to you. At least as good as
Yes.
the Ivy League universities. And personally, I think what the Ivy League universities are doing, however good a work they may be doing in academia, is, I think, from the evolutionary perspective, is past tense of humanity. We need something completely different,
Fully agree.
completely new, something that equips the mind to deal with not just contemporary realities, but the emerging realities of the next decade, 2 decades, half a century. No education system in the world is doing that. How to equip the young mind to deal creatively and proactively with the emerging realities, with the emerging future. We need an education system that does that. So here's a platform for that. But this is a platform that will become effective when at least what is presently happening is happening excellently. It touched excellence in just teaching subjects that exist as law, hospitality, management, psychology, and only then raising it to the next level. That this is good, but it's not good enough. We need something new here. And we need something new in terms of content and pedagogy. Not just pedagogy, content and pedagogy. So we need to inwardly revise the very content of education, of domain knowledge. So we need experts, we need thinkers, deep thinkers for this. We don't need just teachers, but philosophers of education for this. We need deep thinkers who are steeped in the values and cultures of a spiritual civilization. We need people who have learned out of their own necessity that spirituality is the next life on earth. And spirituality has very little to do with religion or with present understanding of spirituality. It's a futuristic, evolutionary, dynamic spirituality. Something that Sri Aurobindo is talking about, integral spirituality. So, a center, we are calling the Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center, a center dedicated to making this happen with a single-minded intensity and focus. That this is what needs to happen and this is what we will make happen. We will realize to the best of our capacities. But yes, it needs that focus. I don't see it happening without single-minded focus and intensity. I don't see it happening that way because the resistance against which this kind of work will happen is enormous. I think it's a terrestrial resistance. And of course the light is there. I loved what you said a while ago. The light is there, the force is there, it's everywhere. But it's almost like we need to take this light and the force and focus it. Concentrate it. It's like almost with a magnifying lens of consciousness. We concentrate it to a point of action, manifestation. Which it's nothing to do with talking about it. It's nothing to do with propaganda. It's nothing to do with spreading the good word. It's everything to do with penetrating nature, going as deep as possible with that one ray of light and making it happen from inside.
With the consciousness.
With consciousness, the focus of consciousness on this.
And what about degrees, diplomas, certificates?
All that will remain. We can't do away with it, and I don't think we should do away with it right now. We are not ready to do away with it. And
your mother wanted it not to have any.
Yes.
And she said for Aurobindo also.
Yeah.
You know my daughter Shally?
Yeah, I don't know her. I haven't met her.
Well, she built the high school, ran it for 20 years, and she gave the option to the children because they're of an age when they can make a decision.
Yes, they can make a decision.
And if they wanted to prep for SATs and etc., they had that option. If they didn't have to do it.
That is what is needed. We need to give them the option. Along with that, simultaneously with that, we also need to give them an education where they can make this option, they can make this choice, they exercise this option.
Yes.
Because to choose not to go the conventional way needs enormous courage and clarity and confidence in oneself, confidence in what one has learned. In other words, one needs to be engaged deeply with learning, so deeply that you know that you stand on the ground of solid knowledge and you don't need a certificate for that.
So this is one of the things that will occupy you, this new center?
Yes, but I
This
really
heart of the
is
university.
the
if
heart.
if may
I called
say.
it the psychic center of the university,
Okay.
and HP called it the soul of the university.
Okay.
So, and I was waiting for this. I've been involved with the university over the last 4 years, but only from the periphery. I was involved from the periphery. I never got into it because perhaps I was waiting for this to happen. So when HP told me that let's work for the center, that's when I felt that yes, this is it. Now the time has come. So that's how everything sort of fell in place. But yes, it is the soul center of the
Yes.
university.
Could you talk to us a bit about your work in experiential teaching? I know you did one in South Carolina at the Integral Yoga Retreat one time.
Yes.
Can you
So
articulate that a bit for us?
it's how do I say that? I do this work through retreats with teachers, educators,
So
parents,
people who are somewhat open already.
people who are somewhat open
Yeah.
already. Yes,
Okay.
open in the mind and open in the heart,
Mhm.
both. And we start talking. It's almost like we are talking. We start talking about what's happening, what are we feeling. We go a bit deeper to get in touch with our feelings. And almost always people are not happy with what's happening around. They're not happy with what's happening to their children. They're not happy with what has happened to them, and they can see how little of education they've really got, and how much more was possible. So I find that most people, most right-thinking people, have this in them, but not articulated so far. So in this dialogue, this is articulated, and one begins to see that yes, the only way ahead is to get back in touch with our inner selves. That is the only possibility in education, in life, in learning. And then we do certain guided activities together, meditative activities that I bring from Vedanta, to get deeper within oneself. I call it the method of self-inquiry, Atma Vichar in Sanskrit, which is a process of concentrated contemplation, self-inquiry. You probe deeper and deeper within your own mental and vital structures. You go deeper within your own consciousness through a series of questioning, more than questions, questioning, which brings you more and more into a questioning state of being, where you're not accepting anything on the surface. You want to know what is there, what is behind it, why is it happening this way, what is behind it, and you learn how to probe with the pressure of your consciousness, go deeper, probe deeper, till somewhere you begin to get in touch with the inner. This is a Vedantic way of self-inquiry, and I use it in education. And the whole purpose of this is to bring the seeker, the student, the learner, to at least a first understanding of the self. Then he or she is on his or her own. But that's very important from the perspective of education and learning. I find it very, very important that you have to go within. This inwardization is very, very important. So that's what I do in this experiential retreat.
And have you done it at Oro as yet?
Not yet. I have not done it at all yet. Because as you said a while ago, you need to be open to it in the mind and in the heart, because it's difficult. It's as you start this movement within, it gets pretty difficult initially, because you're confronting a lot of things within yourself that you don't want to confront. So a lot of your own resistance is thrown up. So you have to go through all that. So you have to be really open to doing this. And there has to be a need in you, a need for self-understanding, self-realization. Without that need, it can't. I can't call you for a retreat and make you sit in a comfortable place and start this process. There has to be a need for it. So that need has to be created. I don't think that it's impossible to create such a need, but it's a process that will take time. But first, that need has to be created, and then this can work. So the retreats that I do with people who are already in this need.
And how
Conscious of this
do they learn about your retreats?
Word of mouth, mainly word of mouth. And I do the retreats only with groups that know me personally. I don't do it publicly in a sense. I used to at one time, but now I don't. So it's only with people who know me, who have come for a retreat and who come back again, and they tell their friends and relatives, and they come. So it's like that. It goes on like that.
In India or in the US?
In
or
India,
other
in
countries?
Europe, in US,
Europe also?
Yes. I've done it in Switzerland, France, Ireland. I do it in the US every year. Twice a year I go to the US and do it. And everywhere there are these groups who come to me year after year, and they do their own practice. So
Very
it goes on
interesting.
like that.
You have a full life. In conclusion, perhaps we could just talk about this radiant future.
The radiant future,
that
yeah.
Mother speaks of and Sri Aurobindo
Yes.
has promised with the supramental descent.
Yes.
Whatever you'd like to say.
This has been very personal to me for many, many years. The first conscious aspiration or dream that I had in my life was at the age of 14, when I discovered this extraordinary work by Bernard Shaw called Back to Methuselah, where Shaw talks about a conscious, willed prolonging of life. And he says that he in the play there are these people who start intensely willing to live for 300 years so that they can become more conscious, because like one of the characters says that human life is too brief to develop any kind of meaningful consciousness. So it was a fascinating concept, and it went right into my heart. I said, that's it. So when people used to ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said, I want to live for 300 years. So they used to look at me, I'm crazy. Later, much later, I discovered the same figure again in Sri Aurobindo and Mother. When they are asked that, how long do you think it will take for the whole transformation to happen
300.
in a body? And it's 300 years.
300 years, yes.
So that figure was like, oops, 300 years. Of course, I'm not taking it literally.
Right.
So it's one of the things that that is a constant thing within me, that one thing that I need above all is conscious continuity of life. Otherwise, this work cannot be done. There's no way that whatever we have gained in this lifetime can be lost again. There has to be a conscious continuity of life. How to get that? Whether through education, through yoga, through a different kind of thinking, a different kind of feeling, whatever, all of it put together, and still some more. I don't know. I'm still in
And
the
the
process.
physical body.
Well, initially, maybe not. Maybe not in the physical body.
No, I mean preparation.
Oh, preparation in the
Of the
physical
body.
body. Yes,
Preparation,
But
yes.
again, I don't think the body is yet ready, from all my understanding. But certainly, as a consciousness, one can make sure that there is
Yes.
a continuity.
Yes.
So that is my passion, and I don't think I've ever shared this before with anyone, because I'm sure they'll think I'm crazy.
Wonderful.
But that's my passage to the future, because I think the future is happening. And I remember what Mother used to say towards the end of her life in the body, when she was so deeply engaged with the yoga of the cells. She used to keep saying that I want collaborators, I want collaborators.
Yes.
I don't want devotees, I don't want disciples, collaborators. It took me many years to understand. I mean, not that I have understood, but at least the first intuitive inkling of what a collaborator is, what collaboration with the divine can be. So that, I think, is the key
Yes.
to our own future.
Yes.
Obviously, none of us can create our future, but she is doing that for us.
Yes.
And somewhere we need to, maybe just be carried like the cat. The cat carries.
Yes, the cat. Yes, not the monkey.
Yeah, you just don't have to just.
The monkey holds on.
The monkey
cat
holds on. The
allows
cat.
him
So
to
to
be
be
carried. Yes.
like a kitten,
Yeah.
holding on to the mother,
Wonderful.
and just going.
Wonderful.
So that's the future is very, very exciting for me. The future is very real for me. The future is very real for me, and my Vedanta has brought me to a point where one thing I know for sure is time as we know it does not exist. It's
Very good.
and that realization opens a passage to a completely different working of what in the Vedas we call Kala, the time force itself, which is not chronological time, which is not time from past to time future. It's a process of evolution itself. So that's very exciting. And if I can bring this excitement of the future to my children, my work is done. If children can get excited about the future, living 300 years, the next evolution, a different species,
Yes.
a being of light, then it's done. Our job is done.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.